battling, banging bars, trying to fight for that inside.
I went for a little pass from the inside and I got sideways and I got shuffled back.
I took the inside line and I cleaned him the f out.
This is the Inside Line Podcast with your hosts,
Caleb Russell, Johnny G, Johnny Gallagher.
It's the off-road show you didn't know you needed.
Oh, you're good.
All right, we're back. Episode 3, coming at you live in studio.
Doubling down on the guests tonight. Guest hosting with us tonight, Ben Kelley and Craig Delong.
I really wanted to intro Craig as one of the lone survivors of the 2022 season.
Of the Ranch Russell crew?
Or in general? In general.
Of the XC1 class.
Of the XC1 class.
We determined...
We have one of 3 people that did not injure themselves in 2022. We determined that
in episode 2, there was 3 riders. Grant Baylor, Craig Delong,
Josh Toth.
Jordan Ashburn, because he didn't race the last race after he broke his hand.
He broke his hand, so he did injure himself in 2022.
Correct.
Yet another person in the 2022 injury-riddled season. Craig Delong comes out unscathed. How's it feel? It's got to feel pretty good knowing that it just seemed like a struggling season. Nothing could go right. Nobody wanted to win this thing. Everybody just hurt themselves. And not just, well, there's a couple small injuries, but they were big, very monumental injuries. Tough to come back from.
You're still trying to make that work, monumental.
I sound like Rodney Tomlin, huh?
Monumental. We're going to make it stick.
The trials and tribulations of GNCC racing.
Forget monumental, it's monstrumental. We're making it stick, man. It's going to become nomenclature here on the Inside Line podcast.
Yep. I'm just making up my own vocabulary. That's what this show's all about.
Russellisms.
Calebisms,
Russellisms. What do you think?
I start talking and I lose my train of thought and I just keep talking. So I just make it up.
I mean, it's a gift.
This is a new beginnings, Johnny.
New beginnings. Got it.
We're learning as we go. You got to start somewhere, right?
Absolutely.
Well, let's get into it. Craig, how was the 2022 season?
It was good. Steady. Just kept chugging along.
Rookie year, though? P2? XC1? Hey. It's not bad, dude.
Podium in your first XC1 race, right?
Yeah, but that was like another strange...
man. You
What
can't be that guy.
Happens.
Yeah. Like, I'm talking facts here. Did you or did you not podium in your first ever XC1 race?
I did, but I wasn't third overall, so I don't really...
All right, well, your XC1 podiumed in your first race, finished P2
got beat by
on the
XC2
season
guys, so.
in your XC1 debut year. I mean, that's a pretty solid rookie season.
Yeah, better than I anticipated, for sure.
We've got some racing coming up. Not long. The 2023 National Enduro Series starts. What's it like having a year under your belt in the XC1 class? Obviously, you were racing National Enduros in the pro class before. Is there a new mindset, a newfound Craig Delong in there somewhere?
Yeah, I think so. I just I can even, like, being down here, I can tell. So a year under my belt down here, and another year with the team it made a difference.
So let's back up a little bit. We're going to go back to Craig Delong, 2021, battling for that XC2 title. Come down to the end of the year. Things are settled. You didn't end up winning the title in 21. You had won it in 2020. Regardless, not looking at that from a negative standpoint, but you had an XC2 title, second in 2021 in XC2. You decided to bump up to XC1. Was that kind of just to test the waters? Was that the plan?
Yeah, I wanted to do it a race earlier, but because at that point Johnny had almost a race or 2 on me, so I was like, let's do it now, and they wouldn't let me do it until it was
mathematically eliminated.
It
Yeah.
was
So
done.
You go in Ironman, you finish on the XC1 podium, not the overall podium. realistically, you could share with us now, what were your expectations for your rookie season in XC1 and GNCC? Like, what was kind of, I guess if we can get like a bracket of what was the least you would have kind of been happy with and what was like your dream? Like, what was best case scenario for you?
I wanted a couple podiums, at least 2 podiums. That was my plan. I wanted to lead some laps, get up front, and just kind of learn. That was my biggest plan.
So it wasn't so much like a season ending, I want to be, top 5 in XC1 or top 5 overall or top 3. It was more just those individual milestones along the way.
Yeah, I mean, I obviously wanted to have a good overall finish at the end of the year, but it was more race by race. Like, I wanted to be...
Get in there, get in the mix, get your feet wet.
Yeah, exactly. So...
And now looking back, looking in the rearview mirror, is it safe to say, situational circumstances aside, your performance, your results exceeded your expectations and honestly hopes?
The beginning of the year, I don't think so. I mean, I was content with my results before summer break, but after summer break, I feel like I improved, and everyone's like, "Oh, you got second," but like, I didn't feel like I earned it until like the last couple races where I was actually up front, and I led the Burr Oak for a good bit, and just battling up front is where I kind of like, if in my opinion, it made me feel like I actually like earned it. So
let's talk about that Burr Oak for a minute. Like, you basically were in the driver's seat for most of that race. What did that feel like, and compare, if you will, what it's like to lead and battle for the win and an overall win when you're in XC1 versus what it's like battling for a win in XC2? Comparable, completely different?
A little different. Just in XC2, you're not the first guy to every lapper, so it's kind of, they didn't know you were coming, or they knew you were coming, but it was like you were the first guy. So that was a little strange, but it was cool just being able to be the first guy, and like it was, something I've always kind of dreamed about. So I was good when I first got into the lead, but when I got the white flag, I kind of started thinking too much.
So you say you started thinking too much. I'm going to ask you a question from a perspective that I'm the only person at this table that can understand, but probably everyone except for maybe 1 or 2 of our listeners will be with me on this, that they can't understand either. Because we're sitting here, obviously, with you, with Ben Kelley, with Caleb Russell. They each have GNCC wins and championships. So you were in a position then to get your first ever GNCC overall win and also keep the dream alive, man. Like, that was winning that race kept the championship hopes alive to go one more round. So in that moment, in that battle on the last lap, not necessarily what's going through your mind, but was there the thought of the championship, or was it really just, I mean, I know the two went hand in hand, but was that weighing on your mind at all as well, like keeping the championship drive alive?
To start the race, yeah. Like, I wanted to push it one more weekend or another race. But once I got up front and got into the lead, I'm like, I can freaking win this thing. So, like, it changed to where I wanted to win. And it just so happened that Jordan was in second. So,
it was like the dream scenario, but also the nightmare.
Yeah, exactly. So, but no, that race taught me a lot of stuff, and like sure, I was close, and 4 miles, 5 miles, whatever it was, but it taught me a lot. So,
I know a guy sitting at the table right now, Caleb Russell, who said that losing that championship to the first one back in 2012 taught him so much that he felt it led him along the way. I've had conversations with so many guys that have been in that same situation. So it's interesting to hear that one of the first things you said is you learned so much in that situation. Yeah,
just in like the last 3 races, or even just that race itself, I just learned how to lead and handle some of the emotions. Obviously, I need to work on the last lap, but just the whole aspect of leading the race and being the first guy to a mud hole or a nasty section where you can't just follow somebody through it, where you got to read the situation. So
I think that's an aspect of racing that gets overlooked oftentimes. And, because there are so many different sports where the guys that are winning the race, it's always, or at least in motorsports, it seems like there's only like these few that are always consistently up there and winning. There's a couple guys here and there that come along and can win and battle for wins, but they don't always put themselves in that position to feel the pressure all the time, and they're not used to it. And I feel like the transition for Craig, as he talked about those last 3 races, he put himself up there in the mix every one of those races. Where at the beginning of the year, he was back, terrible starts.
5th, 6th, 8th.
Yeah, when there was 8 guys, he was 8th.
Best.
We would, hound him about it all the time. It's like, hey, you got to get up there. You got to interject yourself into this race and battle with these guys up front and hang with them. That way, you can do it. And especially down the stretch is the most important time of learning. So I think it's very important to be able to put yourself in those positions, year one, and have that feeling of the pressure and what comes along with it, and developing the racecraft late in those races. Because I think all the guys in XC1 have the ability to win races, some more than others, but it's the pressure and having the understanding of I've been there, I've done it, I know how to handle it.
And, coming from, obviously having experience, but also a bit of a layman in these terms, like I've admittedly said already on this podcast that for a long time, anytime I would get to lead, back when I was a rookie, like in the middle of my career, even somewhat recently, I would literally start dry heaving. And that's not an exaggeration. Like and the funny thing was, there was a few times I didn't realize I was in lead, totally fine. As soon as I found out, like they give me a P1, or, I'd kind of look around, take an assessment of where everyone was at. And look, I'm perfectly fine with.
Then your head starts going like
Sure.
a million miles a second. And I remember I had these same feelings, like, when you were 5 back in the youth class.
Yeah, exactly.
And
yeah,
200A, and like when you first move, it's not to talk down on.
No, I'm perfectly fine. But I'm making light of myself, or making fun of myself. But this is 100% real.
No,
like I'm not exaggerating. It was a physical reaction to an emotional situation. Like you just realize, you're like, man, like this is the dream. Never thought I'd be in this position. And you don't have these conscious thoughts. It was just like literally, I'm leading. Like I never puked, but it was legitimate dry heaves.
Oh God, there's a tree. Let's hit it.
No, and there was times where I'd actually lead for a while and not make a mistake or not get past. But it wasn't like consistent, but I'd go like another couple miles, and I don't know if it like re-entered my brain or what, but there would just be like this, and I'm like, what is the matter with me? But obviously, I'm sure a sports psychologist could tell me specifically what's wrong with me. In Caleb's words, I'm a sissy, and he's not wrong.
Oh, come on. I think, some people learn how to refocus and readjust and put it behind them. And it takes time. It doesn't just happen. It happens a lot sooner for some than others. But I feel like Craig, his last few races this year, he really, rose to the occasion and put himself in those positions to harness that experience.
And that's what I was getting at with like the enormity of the pressure and the situation. Like I said, speaking from experience, I've won other series, won other races. I've won, races in GNCC. There was no XC2 or Pro-Am when I came up through, but I won races in A class and B class and all that. Never had that reaction. It was just at the top. And like you were in that position for the first time. And I can't even wrap my head around, not that it ever would have happened, but had I been in that position, leading for the first time, battling for a win for the first time, and also, oh yeah, by the way, there's this, season championship hanging in the balance with only 2 rounds remaining.
Yeah, the championship was there, but it was like, wow, you're 30 points behind. It was like I was 60 almost. So it was like I wasn't there, but I was there.
Yeah, it's still keeping the mathematical possibility.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like the year prior when you wanted to go race XC1 and leave the potential XC2 championship on the table. Obviously, your team thought better of that.
Yeah, but
so round 1 National Enduro is coming up a couple weeks. Sumter.
We got a bunch of racing coming up.
Yeah, we really do. And by the way, we were going to have Josh Strang call into the show here in
about 20 more minutes.
About 20 minutes. Racing the full gas sprint enduro. At least round 1. I'm not sure about the whole series. We'll get it from him.
He's got some other big news for us too. I don't know if we want to jump right to that, but
Josh does.
yeah,
What would that be?
some questions we've been asking up until now, like that he may be able to confirm or
yeah.
deny.
Teammates?
Yeah, possible
Maybe.
new
Possible
teammate.
new teammate.
We've talked about it on both of our previous episodes, episode 1 and episode 2. Does Grant Baylor have a home on the Babbitt's
Johnny's leaving me in suspense. He thinks
Monster
I
Energy
remember all this
Kawasaki?
stuff.
Why? I think we should leave everybody in suspense. We got 20 minutes, man. Let's hype it up. Is Grant Baylor on green? We don't know. Josh is going to tell us.
We will find out. And he's opened the Aussie Ranch. He's training some kids, so he's got a little bit, a few different things going on in his life. I know how hard it can be to race and help other people out at the same time. It is very difficult. Josh has been around for a long time, so I'm interested to see what he's capable of and how he feels going into 2023.
I'm going to try and ask the hard questions too when we have him. Like,
Do it.
We got you and Thad in here a week ago and talked about some of your rivalries, and another guy that you had some serious bar banging and even boot swapping, kicking back in the race in the 150 days or 125. Can't remember which it was. I think it was 125.
150.
150.
There was no kicking. I
Wow.
didn't kick.
Figuratively.
Just tried to run him into a truck.
Elbows flying down pro pits.
He wasn't mad. He wasn't mad. He was mad about that.
Yep.
Honestly, I'm sure we'll allude more on that. It was a dumb move on my part, knowing what happened transpired right after that. Like the next 20 seconds after he tried to make the pass on me, and I just kept him going wide. Like I tell these guys all the time, I was like, just make a wide bike. Don't let him go. Don't let him ride around you.
Yeah, pretty much.
We'll get into more of that.
It wasn't
but yeah.
anything dirty, but he didn't like it.
Well, yeah, hey, a lot of times when guys are scrapping, like we talked about, wins on the line, championships on the line.
Trying to win the race.
Yeah, I mean, and most times, as we saw with you and Thad, I think, we'll let him get into it, but I think somebody else here, there might have been some beef with Josh previously, and now it's funny how that works in racing. Like in 1 minute, there's a lot of things said, and then you're in a casual situation, days, weeks, sometimes even hours later, and like everything's cool. Tempers, everybody wants to win. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah, everybody wants to win. The adrenaline's flowing. You get heated very quickly.
Emotions run high when you're in the battle, and
I don't know if Ben's emotions ever run that high though when he's out there.
I think I heard him come off the track and say "darn it" one time.
nah, very rare maybe that I get upset or whatever, but I feel like when I'm out there, my brain's just off, and I don't know.
just
I
let it
try
go.
not
Just
to
let it
get
go.
into controversy, but
you like-
sometimes it happens.
Are you just like inventing swear words like monstrous normatis? Like when you're out there?
No, I'm still passing the lappers and saying thank you as I go by if they pull over for me.
I do that as
He
well.
would be that guy
You don't say thank you.
sometimes.
I don't as much nowadays.
For those of you
I don't,
listening to the Inside
but
Line
used to all
podcast,
the
if
time.
Ben and Craig come up on you at the
Thanks,
same time,
man.
one on the left, one on the right, take a look back. You see that 342 of Craig DeLong. Make sure you turn his way. Don't take him out, but make it a little easier for Ben to go by because Ben's going to say thank you.
I don't do it as much nowadays, but I try. If I have enough breath, then yeah.
If it's not a thank you, a lot of times I'll drop a hand or give him like one of these if it's a section where you can.
Yeah, well, you don't have to balance on a quad, so we get that.
Here we go. Quadist. Oh, quadding. There was some wheelies ridden today at the ranch on a quad. There was some quadding going on. I don't know if you guys saw it.
I saw it tipped up on the back in your trailer.
No.
That's all I saw.
Yeah, that was after we loaded up. But previous to that, somebody was practicing their quadding.
Okay.
It wasn't me.
Quad up.
That's right.
There's a song. We need it.
There
Have you
is.
heard it?
Yeah.
Okay. You've heard it?
Oh, yeah,
Isn't,
of course.
MX versus ATV on the
Yeah,
exactly.
Casper from the K, my dude from Kentucky.
quad up.
Yeah, he made like literally dozens of dollars on that song.
Dozens of dollars.
No, I think he had a fairly successful career there for a short time. I don't think he's a rapper anymore, but that was
So
a
I've tried to ask Craig like 3 times now, and Johnny's interjected and got us into the topic of quadding again.
that's how I do it. I'm the quad guy.
But we have National Enduro coming up. Craig's one of the 2 factory Husqvarna, Rockstar Racing Husqvarna factory riders in the series. National Enduro, GNCC, correct?
Correct.
Are we looking forward to the Enduros this year?
Yeah, I like the enduros. They're fun. Some are better than others, but
Yeah, I feel like everybody kind of has the same. Maybe not everybody. I feel like most people have the same outlook on the national enduros. Like, yeah, there's some of them that are like, man, it's the best stuff you've ever ridden. It's really fun, but they are very difficult at times. Just reading the trail, ruining your brakes. You know, you get lost out there very easily. And for those of you that obviously, I think most of the people listening to this show know what national enduros are, but we've actually have a lot of listeners from Europe. They have no idea what national enduros are. You know, they have World Enduro Championship, which we don't have that style of racing here, and hardly anybody. They just think of sprint enduros when you say World Enduro Championship, but the World Enduro Championship is not anything like American Enduro. If you want, break it down just so we have a baseline here.
yeah. So there's 6 tests throughout the day, and you start at test 1, where they tell you go, and then you go till they tell you to stop, and then you transfer for a little bit, get some gas, and then you do it again 5 more times throughout the day.
Yeah, and they're 6 to 15 miles, right?
Yeah,
right
they
there?
can be 5 to 10. They've kind of shortened it since.
Yeah, I always really enjoyed the shorter ones, which were still like 15 minutes long. Like the actual test from check in to check out is like there was a few short ones this year I did notice, like, but there was a couple races that seemed like they had like 25 to 30 some minute tests too. And those were the ones where, you know, I would just absolutely kind of shit the bed and just get mentally lost out there. And a guy like Russell Bobbitt would just put a minute on me. I remember leading a race, having a minute going into the last test, and I lost by like 18 seconds. Ended up losing the day by 18 seconds. So he beat me by a minute 18.
Yeah. It's easy to do. It's like you think you're having a good day, you're having a good test, and you come in and you Stewart ramp you by 40 seconds.
Yeah, you have no idea where you stand out there. I think that's what was always so frustrating for me in national enduros.
Having only ever been to 2 NEPG national enduros, I think for me from the outside looking in, I've never raced them. The big difference, obviously I've been, well, not obviously, but I've been to 6 days 4 times now, 4 years, maybe 5 actually. And countless US sprint enduros and full gas sprint enduros. The biggest difference actually isn't during the race, it's the prep. Like to me, like when you go to a sprint enduro, when you go to a world enduro, when you go to ISDE, everyone walks the tests. Like by the time you start racing, maybe the test basically memorized turn for turn, rut for rut. National enduros, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's completely blind.
Yeah. Yeah. You just roll up Sunday morning and you're like, all right, I'm going to go as fast as I can.
Is that a rule or is it just nobody
That's
wants
a
to
rule.
walk? So you're not actually allowed to walk the tests.
Yeah, there used to be rumors that some people used to like show up to the race early and walk the test, but now they made an actual rule about it. So everything's blind.
Yeah, that brings in a whole another element. I mean, you're reading trail at speed with no concept of what's around the next turn or next dip. I think that's a huge difference.
Yeah, you're just looking for the arrows.
With the start of the National Enduro Series on the horizon, what are your expectations going into 2023? Is this a championship that you want to really make yourself or put yourself in contention for and focus on? I know it's sort of like a secondary series for most, almost like filler time in a sense. But you know, some guys take it really seriously, like Stu and Grant. Obviously, Grant Baylor is an animal when it comes to national enduros. He has become very good at them, which is wild to me because he rides the bike so awkwardly. I don't understand how he goes so fast in the tight trees.
I mean, the word on the street is the Baylors don't ride around the trees; they just run them over,
Ride through the trees.
And I understand that's like a joke to a degree, but I've seen videos, I've seen pictures. Like they say anything smaller around than your calf or my calf, not Grant's or Stu's calves because they're much bigger, but they just either rip them out of the ground or bend them right over. And you know, judging by you look back through the previous several seasons of National Enduro champions, and their names are there again and again. So something they're doing is working in that format.
Do you think you're going to have anything in the tank in these national enduros to step up and challenge these Baylor boys? It's back to Baylor boys racing again.
Huh?
I said it's going to be Baylor boys racing in national enduros.
Yeah, I'd have to say I do. Last year I didn't feel like I rode it as well as I should have, but I think I have what it takes. I mean, the enduros are. It's like you said earlier. It's different than the GNCCs. It's a different almost mentality. Like you come in from a test and you gotta like think like you're just starting a day over again. So you could have a good first test and then the second test you're 30 seconds off. So we'll wait and see. We'll find out, I guess.
And Ben sitting here, it's got to be a completely different attitude this year going into the national enduros.
Yeah, this one I can't kind of wait to hear.
You know, you had a good start to the season. Sumter wasn't the greatest, but you come out and you won the second round.
Yeah. And I mean, like I said, there are times where I don't know, I don't enjoy going to those races all the time, but the fact that I'm racing them, like I want to put forth a good effort. And like last year, I really did, round one didn't go well. I got like 7th or 8th, but I rode some tight woods before round 2 and actually focused on it for a little and had a good race. And that kind of flipped the switch to where I wanted to put in a good effort, like I said, and try to win that championship. I don't want to just be out there just to be out there. Like anything I do, I want to give it my best foot forward. And I was trying to do that. And at round 3, apparently trying too hard or trying to go too fast. And I crashed and that ended my season. But going in the new year, I want to go out there and fight for the championship. I have, a few wins at that series, so I know I can. So,
yeah, I was just curious to see. Obviously, last year the injury was very tough. Racing a series that you're not all in mentally at, so to speak. Not that you don't want to go. Not that nobody wants to go there and not do as good as they can. When I raced them, I was like, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it as good as I can possibly do. I'm going to put the most effort that I can to do it well. It's tough though when you have that big of an injury and boom. It's like I already maybe didn't really like what I was doing that much, and then I went and did that.
Let me tell you something I'm surprised by. Because you and I hadn't talked about this previously. There was no prep work coming into this. When I asked that, or when that question was asked, I was fully expecting, number one, something about the injury. Number two, how it affected, obviously your season as a whole and other series. Obviously, GNCC being the primary, you were 6-0 to that point. But your answer was 100% National Enduro. I want to win there. I know I can win there. To me, that says a lot about your mindset. Like, it wasn't, I'm sure obviously if you would sit down and have a comprehensive conversation about how that affected your life and all that, but when you were asked the question like, hey, what do you think about coming into National Enduros, your response is like, well, I haven't really done as well in that series, but I want to win. If I'm going to do it, I want to win. And there was no mention of any of the peripheral stuff. So I don't know. For me, that shows a lot about your mindset coming in. Like you're already focused on, hey, we're going racing. I want to win this thing.
Yeah, I think with any major injury, it's this one especially, big trauma comes with it, and I'm going to have to work through that throughout this whole year, I'm sure, until I'm not in pain anymore or who knows. But I feel like any athletes or with what we do especially, you need to have a short memory. And whenever you have like a gnarly crash or injury, you have to quickly forget so you're not thinking about that, because you have to be so focused when you're riding or racing that if you have any other thoughts in your mind, you're either going to crash or you're going to go slow. So just trying to put that behind me and focus on both series as best I can. I obviously seem to enjoy GNCC a little bit more, but those are grueling as well and not all that awesome while you're racing. But I like the head-to-head racing, so that's what I enjoy. Racing against the clock and all, it's cool because it's just up to you. But I like the head-to-head and the racecraft aspect. So I think that's why I lean towards GNCC a little more. But I want to give my best effort in both series.
To look at you too. Like you couldn't be more different. Like in terms of how you got. No, I'm not talking about your height, Craig. You could see Craig was getting a little defensive before he even knew where I was going with that. Like,
What are you talking about,
Ben?
Johnny?
You come from obviously, the Trail Jesters team, New England, J-Day guy coming up through. You guys had, is it Nitra, I believe?
Netra.
So you have. Sorry, Nitra, Netra. Nito.
Well, it's what Citra is the
Yeah,
Southern.
that's why I
series?
thought
Yeah.
that. But Caleb's over there laughing at me because I said Nitra. Sorry, Netra. Any Netra people tuned in? I apologize. I didn't know.
There's not an A
What?
Yeah, there is at the end.
in the middle.
No.
Like neat. NEAT.
I
gotcha.
got you.
Netra. Sorry. So, and there were some enduros there that you ran as well. Like you have, because they have hair scrambles and enduros.
They have enduros, but at Netra the enduros are classic, where it's timekeeping.
Okay, timekeeping.
So
which, that's a whole other thing we don't even want to get into because that'll just confuse our viewers.
I'm just saying,
Yeah.
I never got into that because it was the whole registering your bike thing, and
Yeah.
I just never really got into that.
Well, that kind of further proves my point. Like J-Days, hair scrambles there, then you transition to GNCCs with the Trail Jesters team. We were just talking about the Baylor Brothers Racing. How about the DeLong brothers? Your brother has a national enduro title previously, and you're looking at potentially fighting for one here. You guys want to like battle the Baylor brothers at some point? Andrew and Craig DeLong versus Stu and Grant Baylor, and like throw down here in the woods. What do we got going on? Like
Maybe a couple years ago, Andrew's not really in quite fighting shape anymore. But
I think he actually is in fighting shape, maybe just not on a dirt bike.
yeah, probably.
Grizzly bear shape.
Yeah, he's ready to fight anytime. He's just a little more plump than he used to be.
Oof. You think he's listening?
He probably will, but
He does a lot of time in the truck now, right?
yeah,
Driving.
I tell him that to his face, so it's okay.
Yeah, I think he could still take you.
Oh, for sure.
I remember hearing some stories about little brother.
Oof. Yeah. He was hard on you, man.
Well, you saw when we lived together in Daytona.
Yeah. There was moments. I intervened a few times. Like it was that bad. Like I get it, it's brothers, but like I don't know, to me, like I'm a softie for sure. Mr. PC, Mr. Softie. And like Andrew was a tough guy. Like he's like a junkyard dog, man. And you were just a little puppy at that point, and he was just being too hard on you. And I was like, yo, bud, like back up, let me handle this. Go do your thing. And you and I talked, and look where you are now, man. Like he's got to be proud of you though. Your dad as well. Like, but you came up as an enduro guy.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, my brother, he did old school timekeeping enduros locally, and then GNCCs was like, oh, we'll try it for a year, and he got support, and then since he was going, I just tug along. So yeah, been here ever since, pretty much. But
Worked out all right.
yeah. But like you said, I've done enduros for 10, 12 years.
And you have a championship, and was it
Pro 2.
Pro
yeah.
2? Mm-hmm. So, I mean, you've got the pedigree.
Yeah.
So nonchalant, always.
It's
like
in,
you
it's
just
in
can't.
the DeLong bloodline.
That's right.
Sort of like it's like the Baylors and the Russells. My dad and I, we have a championship.
Oh,
The
that's
Baylors
true.
have a
That's true.
championship.
I mean, maybe Crew someday. He could make it a father-son gig.
Maybe it would be a trio then. Yeah. Hey, we got to take a second. Thank our sponsors, Carry Resources. Craig's a Carry rider. Been working with Gary.
Shout out Gary. And
yeah, shout out to
Caitlin
Gary and Katie.
Riley.
Thank you guys very much. Carry Resources, they're dedicated to the growth and success of their communities while also being involved with the off-road racing world. Check out their available assets and website at carryresources.com. Everybody stay tuned. We'll be right back with Josh Strang. We'll get him on the line. All right, welcome back, guys. We are calling up Josh Strang right now. Getting him on the line. Going live. Our second call-in guest.
Hello.
Strang, what's going on? Welcome to the Inside Line.
Yeah. What am I? I guess 2 or 3 or something.
You're caller number 2.
Yeah, call in guest number 2.
Yep. So welcome to the show. How's it going?
Yeah, not too bad. Just getting. Actually, you just called me before I head off to bed. That's what happens. Johnny, I'm surprised Johnny's still awake. Actually, he's older than me. He should be in bed already.
I'm retired, bud. I'm going partying after this.
He's getting ready to fly out to Vegas.
It is. Oh, Vegas, that's trouble.
I'm not actually
Whatever
going.
age you go out there at.
I'm not actually going to Vegas. I mean, I am sort of.
Oh.
I'm racing the Works in Prim, which is like 30 minutes outside of Vegas.
When's that? Next weekend?
Yeah, next weekend I'll be racing
Nice.
next Sunday. So
Yeah, nice. That track is, if they're getting all that rain, it'll be fun. But I think you race there too, Caleb, right? It's
It's one of
different.
the better. Yeah, it's one of the better works.
Yeah.
That
venues
that they go to. I feel like.
Yeah.
It's
And
not,
I think if it
it's definitely fast, but it's not one of the fastest ones. It actually it's quite turny and kind of pumps up pretty good. You can find that flow without really scaring yourself going wide open. I feel like.
Yeah, and I think if the wet I think that's why they have it this time of year, because the weather can sometimes be like good. Where once it rains out there, it gets better.
Yeah.
So
I'm hoping for a full month.
yeah.
Like a full.
That's impossible. They will call it a mutter. Yeah, I've been to Glen Helen and it rained. It rained a ton, and they were like, "Oh, this is a mutter." I was like, "This is like perfect." There's
I think I remember that one too.
But anyways, we got Josh Strang on the show tonight. Josh, what's happening? How was I know 2022? You were yet another rider that was struck by injury. And it was a very strange one. You came back there and then you kind of were sidelined again with this same issue. It never healed.
Yeah, 2020 was far out, man. It was probably worse mentally than the actual physical break itself. So that break, Florida, I don't know what it was, halfway through the race, the lapper ran into me and just pushed me into a tree and just snapped my arm, and got surgery. And then honestly, I'm not really sure what happened. Looking back at it, I think I may have got released a little early, and then I just didn't get pulled up when I should have got pulled up. Looking back at it now, which is easy to do once you've already gone past it and you start looking back at everything that you have in your hands to look at. I really should have been pulled up probably before the Hoosier, so probably before I even started racing again. But I was just told it was all good and I was good to keep riding until it was that far gone that it was probably worse than what it was when I snapped it in the first place. So, yeah, so ended up just getting a different opinion, and a specialist in Charlotte fixed it up. And honestly, once he fixed it up, he didn't want me doing anything for, I think it was about 12 weeks where I did pretty much absolutely nothing. So it was hard. Definitely, like I said, more mentally tough last year than anything to try and get through it. And then now getting back into it, it's a lot more difficult than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, once you lose that much time on the bike, especially, you're on the early 30s list here, it's
mid 30s this year.
Yeah, coming back from injury, starting from ground zero without that base of having time on the bike, and that forward that very high intensity on the motorcycle. I feel like it's one of the toughest spots to just come from zero back to that.
Yeah, it is. So it'll be I think it'll be a long season, this one. So I'm excited that I'm back riding and that sort of stuff. But yeah, as far as being back to where I was when I was racing you in 2020 and even the beginning of last year, I think it's going to take a little longer than what's the first round, 4 weeks away. Yeah. I just think it's going to take a little longer than 4 weeks to get back up to some sort of speed and competitiveness, which sucks. But that's part of the game, getting injured last year it seemed like you said, almost everyone in the XC1 class was injured at some stage. So I guess last year was just the time to do it.
Yeah, if you were going to do it, it was the season nobody wanted to win. Everybody just tried to hurt themselves.
Something
in the water.
Josh, I got good
Yeah.
news for you. You said 4 weeks isn't really enough for you to be in winning shape. Luckily, you have 5. There's 5 weeks
No,
until
5.
GNCC round
Yeah.
1. So I mean, that extra week, I mean that could be
Could make it. Yeah, it could do. We'll keep positive.
How's the Aussie Ranch going? If you want
It's
to
good.
walk us through that, because I'm sure a lot of listeners, including myself. I know you have a bunch of guys over there at the old JGR track, and a bunch of you guys ride there. Let us know what's going on with that.
Yeah, so, I mean, obviously, 2 or 3 years ago now, the JGR team closed down, and you used to ride that track as well. So I used to get to go there like once or twice a week and ride, and it was pretty fun. There was a stage towards the end there where I felt their motocross track was a little, sketchy, and then like they kind of put fake bumps in it.
Yeah.
And so for me, I kind of stopped going there towards the end. But I saw one day I don't know, it came across online and it was for sale. I'm like, man, that place would be sick to buy. Obviously it's the going rate for property around here is like 10 an acre. So for me, not winning 8 championships, I couldn't afford anything like that.
I couldn't afford that either.
Yeah. So it was just something that I was like, oh, that'd be cool. Hopefully someone gets it that likes to ride, and maybe we can start riding on it. And the Reardon family, the other Reardon boys, Will and Gus, their family from Australia came over and they bought a house not far from me here in Denver. And Paul brought it up to me back in, I guess it was December 2021, I think. Asked if I knew anything about the property, and I was like, well, yeah. I was like, all I know is that if I could buy it, I would buy it. And then so it ended up being him and I went in on, I have a small percentage of the property, and we went in and bought it. Now it's called AUS Ranch, abbreviated for Australia, obviously, because it's just a bunch of Aussies that had bought it. And yeah, pretty much just kind of running the show. So we had the Supercross track rebuilt, and the Phoenix Honda guys come out and do a bit of riding there. We'll build a
really
massive
sick enduro cross track.
Yeah, I've been injured all last year because unfortunately I didn't get to ride it, but I wasn't too upset about it because it's pretty gnarly looking. So
it's fun to ride around. It's not fun to really try.
Yeah. So there's the enduro cross track. Then we put a woods loop in, and then we have the irrigated motocross track too. So it's actually perfect for what we all needed to do. And really, I tried to get in as an investment. Like for right now, it's perfect because I'm still riding and racing. But this area is expanding so much with neighborhoods and housing and everything. I really got in as an investment for like 10 to 15 years down the road once all the housing markets expands out to that area, and we get ready to sell that, So for right now, it's perfect for what I'm looking to do and what the Reardons were looking to do, and it's been good. As you know, sometimes it's hard to find places to ride, and then this was kind of there already set up for us and everything. We had to put in a woods loop, and it's good. It's actually a lot more work than there's more things to keep up there than what you would kind of expect. And Paul Reardon, he's kind of, I don't think he's retired, but once he's on the East Coast, he's kind of on vacation mode. So he kind of take cares of all the irrigation stuff and the mowing and just the general upkeep of the property. And the boys, Lyndon and Gus and all those guys, love to get on the machinery. And I'm usually walking around with a machete or a chainsaw or something manual
labor.
Because yeah.
Yeah, I would. I give the machete and the whoppers to the guys, and I get on the skid steer. You got it backwards, Josh. But no, that sounds like a really. It's obviously I've been there. I know the old JGR ranch very well. Now called the AUS Ranch, but they had a lot of infrastructure that JGR built out there. It was very cool. Perfect location, ideal, and it makes a whole lot of sense to capitalize on that and have that property as some sort of investment, because that area is blowing up, and it was on the cheaper side. It's north of Lake Norman in North Carolina, which is very high dollar, very ritzy. So that Statesville area right there, definitely a good location.
Yeah.
Central to all the races too.
Yeah, it's I mean, like the whole reason why I moved to this area was because it's fairly central for the GNCC racing. I mean, you're originally from Ohio and you moved down here as well, so it's like the weather gets cold, but it doesn't get unbearable in the wintertime. In the summertime, it's about perfect, So for me, and it reminds me of home around here too, so that's why I like it here. So just to get involved in that and for me, it was a no-brainer, really.
You say it reminds you of home. I would imagine it does, because you're surrounded by quite a few Aussies most of the time. Let's talk about that a little bit. Obviously,
it's the Aussie explosion.
And the Aussie explosion.
I mean, how many
the invasion? You guys are like
Aussie
kangaroos.
invasion.
Like we import one of you, and the next thing you know, you're just
how many
everywhere.
women you got over there? You guys are just multiplied.
No. Seriously though, like if we talk about Australians in the off-road racing world here in the United States, I mean, obviously unless there was somebody before, Shane Watts, obviously probably the OG.
Glenn Kearney.
Well, I think Watts was here
after
before. Yeah,
after Glenn.
Kearney was before Watts?
No, after.
Oh, yeah.
After
so
Watts.
Shane Watts, then Kearney, and then obviously you were kind of right in that right after Kearney. And now it's like you guys make up like 72% of the GNCC racers. Tell us a little bit about that, and how does it feel to know that like you were at least part of what paved the way for these guys and gals to come over?
Yeah, it's so there's one guy before Watts here. It was Jeff Ballard, and I don't know if
wait a
ever
minute.
did
Geoff Ballard was Australian.
Yeah,
This is what I was going to bring up.
I forgot about
And
Jeff. I met him at
raced
6 days one time.
I knew Geoff,
and he raced for the USA at the 6 days.
Oh, that had to be a conflict of interest.
I can't remember if it was for a club or for a trophy, but if someone does, I tried to do some research, and I'm pretty sure he raced for a trophy team for the US 1 year. And it was, I don't know how he got around it, but I'm pretty certain that happened.
So let me tell you just how old I am. Geoff Ballard, Johnny Martin, which is Jeremy and Alex Martin's father, who owns Spring Creek MX, they were factory Can-Am riders back in the day. And Geoff Ballard was a bad dude. I can remember rooting him and Johnny Martin and so many. This is back in the Eddie Lojack days.
Bob Sloan.
Bob Sloan was an ATV guy. These were all dirt bike guys. Caleb,
Well,
stop trying to be a quadist and talk about quadding. Yeah, that's crazy. I guess I just never wrapped my head around. I was a young kid at the time. Obviously, I had no ideas from Australia. I just knew he was a factory Can-Am guy, and their bikes were so cool back then.
Yeah. So anyway, so it's GB and then Watsy, GK, myself, and then there was kind of a lull, I guess you could say, in Aussies coming over, and I think it was because at the time, like Milner and Pricey and Phillips, when they were still all racing in Australia, they were making good money. So the reason I came over here in the first place was that, well, for one, I wanted to always race in either Europe or the US growing up, and the opportunity to make money here in the US was far greater than being able to make it in Australia. They're just a lot more races, more people, everything, So I think the people, they just kind of stopped coming from 08 through to 14, 15, I guess, maybe even later. And so I always, GK always, like Glenn, he like threw me a massive line when I came over. He like put his head on the chop block, said, give Strang a ride, he'll be worth it, or whatever, to the Suzuki guys. And so they believed GK, so I really felt like I owed something to some Australians or whoever, So I've always tried to get people to come over and just have a go. So, like Lyndon, I think Lyndon was at contract year in Australia with KTM, and they came over in 2019 to do a couple of races. And at the end of the year, I'm like, dude, if you're not getting paid any money in Australia, why wouldn't you come to the US and just race for free? Same thing you're doing in Australia. You can make cash at a Mid-East or whatever. Like, you can make enough money to live throughout the week. And if nothing happens, you just go back to Australia and get a job. And so I just felt like I've tried to do my part and give back to the Aussies that are trying to get over here. And since Lyndon has come over, Mason's here now as well. The Reardon boys they've been here in the US on the West Coast for a few years. So I just think the opportunity currently, again, like the racing in Australia has kind of died off a little bit. There's not as much money going around. And I think the opportunity to come to the US has grown again, and it is more, people think it's a good idea again, you know?
Yeah, it's back to being prevalent, and it's the AORC, right? That's what you call it.
Yeah, that's it.
So in 2020, that whole organization, all pretty much, because Australia with the COVID times, it took a really hard hit. And are they back to racing? Has that recovered?
Yeah.
Not well.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
Judging by the tone of your voice, it's not.
No, I don't think so. It's not back like the money Milner and Pricey were making. Even I think Lyndon maybe in 18. The money's just, I don't know where the money's gone, because there's still tons of people racing at home and they're still buying stuff. I just feel like the whole racing series at home is done different than it is here. Like here, Racer Productions put on the GNCC and NEPG, the Enduro, hell, even the 2 sprint series. It's ran by one promoter, like a single promoter.
So it's more like, it's almost like a club back there.
Yeah. So in Australia, Motorcycle in Australia have the AORC championship, but each round is ran by a club. So I think every track's kind of set up a little different. They have some different rules in different states they go to.
There's not.
It's just not.
The consistency isn't there across the board.
Yeah, and it's not like a business. Like, so, Racer Production is a business, and it's ran the same way every weekend, you know. And I just think in Australia, I think it's a bit hit or miss. Like, if it's too wet, they'll cancel it, or if it's too dusty, they'll cancel it. Or I think they have some races that are scheduled for like cross country events, like 3-hour events. And again, if it's too wet or too dusty, they'll turn it into a sprint. So it's like there's too many opportunities for whoever's running the show to change the rules. Yeah, so I just think I just don't think it's at this stage. It's just not the
too many variables and too many hands in the cookie jar. That's what it sounds like.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
You know, it's interesting. I mean, obviously, we're not putting words in your mouth, but it sounds like maybe Australian off-road could use a little review, change, whatever it may be in terms of the strength of the series. But look at the riders that are produced out of Australia in the last decade and their success here in the States, internationally in World Enduro. And obviously, when you pit the countries against each other, Australia's had phenomenal success recently, maybe not the last 2 years, but prior to that, you know, you guys were always in contention at the International 6 Days Enduro. So there's a lot of talent there. It's just, seemingly the organization may be struggling a little bit to find its way.
Yeah, I think that's the best way to put it. And I mean, the thing is, it'd be cool if there was such an event like the 6 days that was cross-country oriented instead of just sprints. Because the reason the Aussies are so good at 6 days is because all they do is sprint. All they do is sprint, you know. So it's almost, now that the US has their sprint series and they focus a little more on the 6 days than they did 10 years ago, they are more competitive. But
just to clarify there, what do you mean by all the Aussies do is sprint? Like, the format is different at home?
Yeah, so the AORC, their Australian Championship, is just sprints. That's yeah.
Depending on the weekend,
Unless-
sometimes it could be a hair scramble. is
Gotcha.
What they
Yeah,
call
but
it.
if it's too dusty, it'll go to a sprint.
So no matter what it's scheduled,
change
it
it
sounds
midweek.
like they just lean towards
you show up,
sprints.
you show up and you see what you got.
All right, fair enough.
Pretty much. So it's and I think this year 23, I don't think they have any cross country scheduled. So pretty much the series at home is just sprint. We would call it the sprint series if it was here.
How's the quadding over there, Josh? A lot of quadists. Quadding.
Yeah, so my old man sells a ton of quads, but they're all for farmers, you know.
So you're
Farmers
saying I don't
wear
have
big hats.
They have racks on.
Put dogs on the back.
my
dogs on the
retirement
back.
plans do not include a second career in Australia as a professional ATV racer.
I don't know, maybe. There was talk of a Aussie cross country series this year, and they were going to have a quad class. Actually, that was the talk, but I haven't heard of this. I haven't heard anything out of the series for probably a month or two, so I'm not sure what's happened to it.
Well, if they were going to have one, they could just call it the YZF 450 quadding class.
Yeah, you can put a Honda sticker on it.
Yeah. Whatever you want, really.
Isn't that what Phoenix do? Yeah.
Hashtag red is dead.
Red is dead.
Yeah.
So, Josh, leading into next year, or do we plan to see you back with the Babbitt's Kawasaki team, and for how long? What's your goal here with racing? Obviously, we're well into the career. You've had one hell of a time in the United States of America, making a career out of racing a motorcycle. Something that you might not have thought was attainable. Won a GNCC championship. Have had great success along the way. How much longer can we sustain this?
I don't know. So I have this 23 with the Babbitt's team, and then honestly, the goal was before this injury was to continue for, 2 or 4 more years, because that was the plan, was to continue. And so this year, like I said, it's been a struggle to try and get back up to speed already. So it's still pretty early in the coming back side of things. So we just have to see how this year goes. I was still, up until the crash last year, I was still having a blast racing, which, like, at this point in my career is probably more important than just trying to win every weekend, because I tried that for a hell of a lot of years and it was hard. So I think, honestly, I would like to keep racing if the opportunity was there and I'm still having fun and still able to make good results every weekend. I would like to race for another 2 or 3 more years, and that all depends as well on injuries, like the one last year. Really, I feel like really set me back.
When you're missing
further than I wanted.
When you're missing 3/4 of the season, it's hard to overcome, especially, when you're young, you bounce back fairly quickly and people are still interested. You still got to go out there at your age now, because you're still very capable, I feel like. But there's always that, Josh is old. No offense, but obviously age happens. I understand that. But it's going to be that, you can come out and put in good results. And I feel like you're still very much in the realm of being competitive. I wouldn't count you out, that's for sure. I know, especially when you get going, you kind of get gritty and you find your groove, and you can click off some wins. And especially when you're comfortable, I feel like you could be a threat to definitely still win races. But we'll see what holds. We'll see how you bounce back from this injury. And I feel like if you're the type of guy, if you start off on the right foot, somebody's gonna have to deal with you all year long.
Josh, if we can, let's talk briefly about your win in 2022. Let me frame this for you, though, before you kind of give us your perspective on it. We talked about coming into the 2021 season was the first season in the post Caleb Russell era. A lot of guys kind of were on that short list of who are the championship contenders, not necessarily contenders, but who are the front runners. Your name very high on that list. Obviously, kind of almost waiting in the wings was a term that people used. Heir apparent, yourself, Stu, Ben, Kelley. Obviously, in 2021, didn't work out for you. 2022, you come out swinging second in round one, then the injury. When you came back, your win there was actually right at the time. Granted, you weren't in the championship fight because you'd missed so many rounds, but your win was right after Ben's injury, and people started talking about like who's going to establish themselves, and like you were the first one to capitalize. Like, do you think any of that played into it, or it was just the opportunity of you being back on the bike, racing, kind of racing yourself up to speed there, and then saying like, all right, this is a good day for me, and I'm going to capitalize on it? Or tell us about that day a little bit.
Yeah, well, just 21 briefly was, like you said, it was I feel like I was a championship contender, and in that year, for whatever reason, I had really strange mechanicals that I hadn't had for the 14 years previous that just happened. And it's like, for whatever reason, 21 just wasn't my year, and we had like I said, a few mechanicals. I think BK ran into me one of the Georgia races, and
he's here. He's here.
We've got BK in studio and Craig DeLong, by the way. So we'll have to clear some of this up because Johnny and I, we're trying to get to the bottom of some things here.
Yeah, we're not looking to stir the pot. We just kind of want to skim the fat off the top once. And
obviously, you and I, we've had our fair share of run-ins.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that too.
We've settled those.
Yeah.
But anyway, so BK ran into you the one race, and beyond that.
So that was the Georgia, and so he ran into me there, and then there was a couple at the Hoosier. I just blew a chain guard apart, and it's like I couldn't do that if I rode into a rock garden, like flat out, So it's just like shit was happening that just didn't really happen before. So 21 was kind of just whatever, not my year. And then last year, coming back from the injury, once Ben had crashed out, I follow the National Enduro on the Sunday, the National Enduro runs. I look at the results, and you see the times come in, and you're like, I forget which one didn't come in first. I was like, shit. I was like, Stu didn't come in that test. I wonder what happened. I was like, maybe his visor flew off or something. And then I look again, and I'm like, shit, now Ben didn't come in. And then so they both get injured, and then all I can think about straight away is like, why the F did I have to crash in Florida? Like out of all these years chasing Caleb around, and I don't know how many second places I have got to Caleb, and that guy, there was never a time where you got injured, like halfway through the year. And it's like, I think I finished second to you 3 times maybe. And it's like the year that I crash out where I feel like I could have, because Stu crashed out the first round, so he was the other favorite, I feel like, last year. It's like, Ben crashes out halfway through the year. Why couldn't I just have finished Florida in fucking 10th place? Like, who cares? Like, 10th place, I would have been happy. But it just happens like that. So as far as the Penton race goes, honestly, I didn't even feel like I was back up to speed yet there. I think with the rain and all that sort of stuff, I was just smarter than those guys.
And you've historically, ever since I've known you, you've always done very well. The Penton was your first race win. You didn't get accredited for it.
No.
But you've historically always done very well there. Obviously that year, what was it, 2008, the Mutter.
Yeah.
Was Paul Whibley mysteriously
that one was a real Mutter. Yeah.
We're going to talk about controversy, apparently.
Well, I was just throwing it out there. I mean,
well, that one's a known. That one's known.
Yeah. So it sounds like Josh Strang wants to keep it going.
Yeah, I mean,
I honestly, and like I tell everybody, and I've said it every time we've had this podcast now. Is like, if I could continue, if I wasn't as successful as I was, I would for sure still be racing. You know, it's something that you can't replace. The adrenaline, the feeling of being successful, and winning, or not being successful, but winning races. You're never going to replace that. But I was always scared that there'd be a time and a point where I would not be able to win, and that's what scared me. Yeah, I didn't want to put myself in the position where I was not capable of winning.
Josh, we talked with Thad Duvall on our last episode. Thad's 33. I believe you said you're 35 or turning 35?
Yeah, I'll be 35 in April.
Okay, so 34 going on 35. Just like to point out, I know someone you worked with back in the day, I believe he was still with Suzuki when you were riding for them. Rodney Smith was, winning races and won a GNCC championship at 41 years old. So
different times, much different.
Agreed.
Yeah, different times.
I get that, but facts are facts, man. Like it's not that it's impossible.
You're not wrong.
Hey, wouldn't that be something?
That would be wild. I don't think it would be as unrealistic as Jordan Ashburn winning a championship. That what
Come on.
I'm not
Come
trying.
on, man.
I like Jordan. Maybe that came off a little.
I don't
there.
think unrealistic is what you meant. I think unlikely.
Unlikely. Very.
Yes. Yeah.
What you've been around before Jordan Ashburn. What are your thoughts on Jordan this season, him winning the championship? What are your takeaways from that?
I mean, props to the guy, honestly. Even if he wasn't the fastest guy all year, he was the only one that finished all the races
there.
And like I said, when Ben crashed out of that Enduro, I'm just sitting there, wherever I was remember just thinking, I was like, you dumb MRFer. Yeah. And it's like,
Caleb's got a beep button. He can use it if you need him to.
Oh, okay.
Just let me know.
He just won't use it. There we go. No, I think and Jordan, honestly, I believe when you get around a team or a group of people that you get along with, I just think you can rise up and ride better than what you have. And I don't think he gelled well with everyone at Kelley. I mean, I get along with Jordan and Mary and his family really well, but I just don't think he got along very well with the team.
The environment wasn't for Jordan.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think once he moved over to Magna and those guys there, I think they're based close to where he lives. I think they have the same kind of views as he does, and I just think he was just at home, and it was easy for him. So I mean, I think it was cool to see. Honestly, it was cool to see someone other than Anti's rider win. And he was still in a Husky, so it didn't really matter. But it was just, I was happy for Jordan when he won, and it would have been a little more difficult to see if he hadn't won any races. But I think he won 2 last year, and was able to wrap up the championship. So I think overall he deserved it. Honestly, I wished it was myself, but that's the way it goes.
Yeah, if you wouldn't have had the injury at round 2. There's no doubt that you would have been right there in the mix. You would have had consistent, solid finishes, and you'd already won you came back and won a race. The race right after Ben got hurt. But I'm in the same boat. Give credit where credit's due. He stepped up. He made it happen. I am very glad he ended up winning a race. If you didn't win a race and won the overall championship, that would be, I don't know if that could even happen other than this past year. That would have been that could have been very likely that was a possibility.
Yeah, I mean, there was a big chunk of the season where that was talked about that it could happen.
But he did. I feel like Jordan, we're going to see a more rejuvenated Jordan, a guy he's always gotten good starts and put himself in the mix, but he's never been able to close the deal. He's made a career out of getting third place finishes and getting third place in XC1 and getting fourth overall. You know, he's always been right there. But yeah, I think he's going to be better. A little bit more swagger.
Yeah.
He's definitely he's got to be close to his 30s now, but I think he is aged like fine wine. That is for sure.
Hey man, 30's the new 20.
It must be.
Josh, obviously we've talked quite a bit at length here about GNCC, and you've got some racing coming up before GNCC starts, correct?
Yeah, so my plan is to do the full gas series. I like the sprint stuff. Now that Coach has turned it into 1 day stuff, I like it even more just because you don't do a whole lot of racing. So to be there a full weekend for me now with like 2 kids, I'm honestly it'd be nice to just get the racing done, and then I can have 1 day, whether it be a Saturday or Sunday, we can go do something with the family, you know. So for me at this stage, the full gas is what I'll do. And I think it's 2 weeks before the first round. So, yeah, so we start up not too far away.
Yeah, it sounds like obviously the full gas Sprint Enduro Series there for a long time until it went into new ownership was a 2-day format. Now they've cut it back to 1 day, 12 tests in 1 day. Have you raced one of the new full gases yet? I don't think you didn't do any under.
Yeah, so I did one last year. Yeah,
you did. How was it doing 12 tests? Was it pretty? I
think we did 10. I can't remember if we did 12 or 10. I know the first round maybe we did 12, and then a bunch of the amateur guys there was too much riding, so I think maybe the rest of the year they did 10.
That is a lot.
I can't remember now.
Just because of the way it's set up. Like when I heard I can't. Like I said, I'm uncertain if it was 12 or 10, but 12 tests in 1 day. Obviously, it's not a whole lot of riding time, but the way it's staggered and set up, it seems like it would very much so drag on.
Oh, and you're kind of like engaged while you're waiting too on those to some degree. You can't just flip a switch, so you're kind of like on for quite a bit of the day when you're doing 12 tests. That seems like it would really wear on you mentally.
Yeah, like I said, I can't remember if we did 12 or 10, but it was, I think once the weather started to warm up, I think it would get more difficult, doing that many tests in the day. So I'll be interested to see how it goes. The plan is to do the whole series. We'll just see how it goes, but I think that's Kelley supports me to do it, so I think it makes sense to go do it. Try and make a little extra money for the wife to spend it on and that sort of stuff. So that's always nice.
You mentioned 2 boys now, right?
Yeah. Maverick and Tucker. So 4
Maverick
and 18 months. I don't even know.
4 and 18 months.
15 months.
4 and not quite 2 yet.
4 in a year.
So 2 boys. Do we have any potential future racers? What are we looking at here for the Strang family?
Tucker, the little fella, he's going to be wild. So he always already tries to get on the Maverick's little bikes and that sort of stuff, and he wants to sit on my bike. And for somehow he already knows where the throttle is. Maverick's a little more timid, so he'll ride his Strider, but he's not into a Stasic yet. So I don't know. We'll see if they want to do it. Then I'm all about it, because the more you watch kid team sports, the more I want to go to a GNCC and hang out with the family.
I concur. I've been there.
Yeah.
Soccer practice, soccer games. It's not our environment for sure.
Yeah, so we'll see how it goes. I'm all for it if they're in for it. So they can do what they want.
Well, cool. Well, good deal. Well, Josh, thanks for coming on.
Whoa.
What do you have?
You trying to let him go?
Whoa,
No,
we've had him on the phone for 44
minutes. I know it's past his bedtime, but Josh, we got a couple things here, and one of these may take longer than the other. One, we'd just like to get to the bottom. We're 3 episodes in now, and we've been teasing not teasing. We've been yearning for knowledge, for answers, and we think you might have the answers we seek. So many silly season, crazy this year. We'll just brush over it quickly with you. Obviously, so many guys changing teams. A lot of the guys that are even back on the same teams are on new bikes with the new evolution of machinery coming out. But one guy making a big change, and literally no one talking about it. No one even knows. There's no social media posts. We've scoured the interwebs. We've dug to every corner of the dark web. We hired some super sleuths, internet cyber sleuths. Still couldn't find answers. We think you may have it. Do you have a new teammate over at the Babbitt's online Monster Energy Kawasaki team for the 2023 season? And if so, who is it? Wait, are you not allowed to talk about this? Like this?
Honestly,
we don't want to get
even
anyone
know.
in trouble, but there's no.
I mean, yeah, no. So, well, I have a new mechanic. So, Jay Downhour is my new mechanic. So, I lost my mechanic to another rider. And yeah, I guess. I mean, everyone knows it. It's been talked about. And,
okay, let's clarify before these words come out of your mouth.
On Pro Row,
this won't be released immediately. We have a minute to edit this. So if you're about to say something that's going to somehow get you in trouble, we can edit this out. But yeah, we have no reason to believe that it wouldn't be. You have a new teammate, right?
Yeah.
And
So as far as I know, unless things have changed since about a month ago, but I'm pretty sure everything's still good. So there'll be two, actually, myself and. I mean, everyone knows who it is. There's only one other person who hasn't been announced yet.
Craig saying, what's his name?
Craig's been sitting over here silent the whole time.
Little Delong must be biting his nails. Is he nervous?
No, he hasn't been biting them yet.
Hey, do you have a nickname for him?
Lazy Days.
Lazy Days.
Yeah. It's not even mine. I think it's Timmy's nickname.
I don't know where it came from. That's for sure.
Lazy Days.
Yeah.
Got it. Well, no more deflecting. So Grant Baylor was at the team photo shoot. He is on a Monster Energy Babbitt's Online Kawasaki and
signed, sealed, delivered
XC1 teammate for 2023, but defying all explanation, he's racing in a few weeks, and no one knows.
Yeah, it's very strange. So I can't. I've given you all the information I've got because honestly, I've been put on the back burner a little bit since that's come about, really. So I don't know. I've just been down here doing my own thing. So keep my nose clean.
Sounds like Cowie has big new hopes. I don't know.
We're not asking you to say anymore. You've said enough.
Yeah.
And all joking aside, this is something we're hyping it up. We're kind of making a funny thing right now, but it's a serious question. Like we were talking about it in episode 1, and we mentioned Grant, and we're like, yeah, Grant to Cowie, and it's been such a known thing. It's been talked about, like, in the inside line. People in the know, I guess you would say, in the pits. Like, I wouldn't even say people in the know. Like, it was just common knowledge around the pits.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, like, we're like, well, wait a minute. Where's the press release? Where's the photos? Where's anything on anyone's social media? Where's anything? And we searched and making light of it. But yeah, we really did look around the internet, ask around, and it's like everybody's like, yeah. Well, where's the proof? Well, there is none. So appreciate you confirming that.
Yeah, I think I found out from someone outside the industry too, actually. Maybe one of my buddies, I think, told me about it. And I was like, that's news to me.
So just to clarify the team for 2023, official team, again, the Babbitt's Kawasaki Monster Energy team is yourself, XC1, Grant Baylor, XC1, Lyndon Snodgrass, looking to defend that XC2 title, correct?
Yeah, so far, yep.
Cool. Well, we'll...
Cowie's moving into National Enduros.
Yeah.
They're going to wear the #1 plate.
Very cool. Yeah. That's actually an interesting...
you can't win it, you buy it.
Well, those are Caleb's words. Before we let you go, one last thing. We do have Ben Kelley in studio, so you got to shout out Craig DeLong's nickname there, Lazy Days, and we got BK sitting here. And we talked about this a little before coming in. I think both of you guys normally like super kind of just go with the flow. Like you said, you're racing more for the fun of it now. Ben is kind of known as, just real chill, just kind of out there doing his thing. Doesn't really get into too much controversy, but back in 2021, there was a little run-in between you two, and we'd kind of like for you guys maybe to, I don't know, talk it out a little bit. What do you think, BK? What you heard him say? You're like, yeah, when Ben ran into me, and your face was kind of like, hey, like, what do you think of it?
I mean, it was just, I guess it was a racing incident, but I wouldn't say I ran into you. I guess we could give our own perspective, but I mean, it seemed to me like you hit the side of my bike, so I don't know. It's up in the air, but no, I mean,
Josh, you can't see. This will be, hopefully we're going to have video with this, so you can't see, but Ben is laughing. Obviously, this is all in good fun.
I know.
But tempers flare, obviously, when you're on the racetrack, and it just shows, even kind of like the mild-mannered guys. Like, I remember standing there. I think, for whatever reason, I was doing the post-race interviews for Racer TV that weekend. Yeah, and I was like standing there, and I was like, "What in the world is happening?" Like there was a lot of tension when you come off the track. So
no, and so during the race, there was just two lines came together. I remember coming together with another KTM guy a couple of years before that, and it was just so early in the race that I was like, why so early? If you're gonna win the race, you're not gonna win.
Dumb, bro.
Right here. No, I know, but that's what I was like. It's like, come on, like it cost me my race, and this is how I look at it now. It's like long in the past now. So, but it's like it cost me. This is my livelihood too, and it cost me. I didn't feel in danger. I just felt I was like, now I'm out of bonus, you know?
Yeah.
And when I come in, so I was hot-headed the whole race, I think. And I come in and I see Ben getting interviewed. He's like, you know what? I'm going to throw him a fucking elbow. And I rode past and gave him an elbow. And I didn't even think about it. Someone else saw it on the TV and told me about it. I was like, oh, yeah, that's sick. It's on camera at least.
Yeah, so, I don't mean to laugh at the situation and like disrespect or anything. And like I feel like it was a little unlucky in a sense because the line I took was the fast line originally, and then the line you were on was like the developed new fast line. And a lapper was in that line as you were already committed to it. And I saw that and I said, okay, I'm just going to take this slower line and just go really fast and use this lapper as like a pick and make the pass. And, you jumped out of that line into mine, and it was just, we were both obviously going fast. So it was a racing incident for sure.
Bad.
Well, and you referenced earlier, Josh, that was...
It wasn't as bad as when I got T-bowed into the tree and broke my fuel pump.
Come on, man.
Hold on. Let's finish one. Hold on. Let's finish one controversy at a time. You mentioned, and this was early on in the 2021 season, it was Georgia, right?
Yeah, so it was Georgia. Yeah. I can see that because, you had a really good first round. You're on the podium. Second round, I would assume you were also on the podium. Florida?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you were set up to have, a solid year, and then round 3, of course, you had a unfortunate, I guess it caused a mechanical, so then you had a bad race, and I could see why that would really frustrate you, especially being the year after Caleb retired, and you were one of the next guys to get the championship done. So I can see why you were frustrated for sure. But yeah.
A lot of strange things in 2021, though, for you, Josh. And you referenced that earlier, but we just kind of wanted to throw a little fuel on that fire. But unfortunately, level heads prevail, and you guys work it out. But Ben's apologizing.
I think we're past it.
Yeah, Ben's profusely apologizing for something that was a year and a half ago.
I'm just not taking all the blame, is what I'm saying. No. If you want to put it on me, that's cool. But.
And I think it was, like I said, it was a freak thing. If someone ran into me 3 times or 10 times again like that, it wouldn't bust the banjo loose, So it was just so there was that, and then the chain guide blown to pieces. It's just stuff like that happened that hadn't happened ever before. So
for my part in this, the few times that they asked me to go down, I don't know if you remember this, but the few times they asked me or Mikey to go down and interview you for Racer TV, there was times I literally was just like, no. Like, I don't know what's going on right now with this guy and this team. And, it's a solid team, a solid bike. And obviously Josh is a solid rider, but something, you got to draw a line. I understand, like, the people need to know, they want to know, but it's like, not right now. Let's give him a couple minutes, let it cool down. And it was wild. It was a strange year for you for sure. And then, let's throw some fuel on this other fire here. Caleb's talking about something about a broken fuel pump. What? You guys had more than one run in over the years. You guys battled hard.
Honestly, there wasn't many.
There was like three. There was like maybe 3 incidents, but that one really still pisses me off.
He's retired now. You can say whatever you want. You can't get back.
You never forget.
I could imagine.
You ruined summer.
Oh yeah, because you were supposed to go race outdoors.
Yeah, killed it. Honestly, it wasn't meant to be. I'm glad I held off until the next year with that whole ordeal. I remember, I worked my ass off that whole race, and that was one of the races. Like, you were never the guy to get out front and build, and I wasn't able to close the gap. But for some reason, I never really gelled at Tomahawk, and
Bach smoked you there.
You were really good there that day. It was sort of the same conditions. It was a little bit dusty. It was dry.
It was real dry.
Yeah, it was in 2015 when Bach beat me there. It was dry too. But yeah, I really didn't like that racetrack, that facility. Didn't ride that good. I got into the groove, but I remember working my ass off the whole race, like, because I'm not gonna stop. I'm just gonna go until I can't go anymore. And I finally got to you. I got around you. It was an aggressive pass. But I felt like I can remember where it was, how it happened. Like, I wasn't expecting it. I wasn't expecting it.
Yeah, I can remember. I think the next year we went, I'm like, yep, this is where we he wrapped himself. Well, maybe I wrapped him around a tree. It was obviously unintentional, but it was like the last lap.
And I'm pretty sure I would have done the same thing. Looking back, I would have done the exact same thing. That could have been.
And it was almost like the Faulkner start straight thing. I think we tangled up, and when you tangle up, you just grab a handful of gas because he crashed into the tree first.
You're fatigued. Like, it was the last lap. Like, we were halfway through the last lap.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So you'd crashed. You hit the tree. I hit the next tree, and I remember my helmet was like twisted on my head. I hit it that like it was like, when in the movies you see the helmet like twist around on someone's head. It was like
my head's on backwards.
Like, yeah. The helmet had fucking moved my head, and I'm like, Jesus. And I look back, and Caleb's just throwing his hands up. I'm like, oh fuck, this is not good. And so I can't remember if I kind of slow rode a little bit, because there's a couple other people I've taken out, and Jimmy Jarrett was one of them.
Yeah,
and it was like 2 corners from the finish.
Yeah, and you let them back by.
And it's like I can't remember if I slow rode or if I just went balls to the wall because I was fucking shitting my pants. And anyway, so that was that one. And then the other funny one was, well, not funny for you, but the Coca race where you caught me last lap again. And you're close enough. I don't think you were close enough to make a move, but then you crashed. And I come out into the field. I'm like, shit, where is he? And I'm like, fuck, all these KTM guys are going to think I took him out again. And he's laying back there in the woods. And I'm like, yeah, so.
Yeah, no, that one was all me for sure. And like I said, like, I was the type of guy that I would when I get heated in the moment, I would rather kill myself than let a win slip away. Like, it was everything I had. I didn't think about crashing. None of those thoughts came into mind. And most of the time it worked out, but there were several times where it ended very spectacularly.
It was fun to watch.
Yeah, it was good. It was good. I wish my Camp Coker crash was on TV. Man, that was wild. I was literally Andrew, Craig's brother, was behind. Well, behind me, we lapped him.
Yeah, you ran out of gas.
He ran out of gas. We lapped him. My body was wedged in between a fence post and the fence.
Oh, I do remember this story.
My body was not touching the ground.
Wasn't your bike hanging from the fence?
My bike was upside down on top of me.
Yeah.
Almost into that pig fence. But I came out of the woods down the little hill, and I was trying to get out of Josh's roost, and I was right on him, and I just got in the fluff, and my bars knifed, and I just endoed straight into the fence. Like, it was violent. Very high speed section. Probably one of the sketchiest sections on that track.
Yeah.
But I dinged myself up good there. That was a big one. Other than that, probably
here comes one.
Powerline Park. 150,
on the 124 or 150 or whatever it was.
Yeah.
I forgot about that. Well, technically, you should never have been in front of me anyway. You're on a 150. Like, you beat everyone.
I was doing everything I could to keep you behind me.
Yeah.
And like, looking back now, like the way that whole race transpired, especially down the stretch there at the end, like, I was told I would only have to gas once, and that's what I was planning on. And you had ran me down. I had a little bit of a lead. You caught me. I was kind of falling apart there. And you historically always rode really good at Powerline Park too. But it was like you had a line on me out in the field. You squared me up, and I was like, I heard you, and I knew it, and I just went way right. And you got more of a run than I anticipated because I was going so much slower out of that turn on that bike, and how I just came over. Because I looked, I checked, I seen you were there, and the distance you were behind me at the time, I was like, oh, I'm just going to go over here. That way he can't just blow past me on this outside. And you kind of got up into me, and I was just running you straight into the trailers.
It was all on Racer TV.
Yeah.
And then I go around the next corner, and it says pit now. So I was like, that was a mistake on my part, for sure.
Yeah, I kind of forgot about that. But then you waxed everyone the next weekend at Ironman on that thing anyway. So
yeah,
it's just
the good days.
Yeah.
No, it was fun. It was good racing. I had a lot of great battles with Josh, yourself, and I. We battled it out really hard. You know, I had a lot of great battles with Paul Whibley, Charlie, Strang, Thad. And those are I feel like my most memorable ones. You know, everybody likes, I think everybody thinks Stu Baylor retired me for some reason, but you know,
who thinks that?
I've heard it on Stu, and then I've heard it on social media, but Stu was there like all the years I was racing, and I never pegged him as a threat to any of my championships. So, you know, my four rivals through the years were definitely Wibbs, Charlie, Strang, and Thad. Those were the four guys that were, you know, there every weekend, and I knew I was going to have to race them at some point. Stu, I could never count on when I was going to have to race him.
Last question,
especially early on.
Last question before we let you go, Josh. I asked this of Thad Duvall. They talked at length about some run-ins over the years between Caleb and Thad. I'm going to toss roughly the same question at you. Has the thought ever gone through your mind of how many wins? Obviously, you have. You know, Thad as yet does not have a GNCC championship. You have the 2012?
10.
2010.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember. I know it was on Suzuki. I remember the semi-level thing. I just forgot the year. But you have a GNCC championship. Has the thought ever crossed your mind of, you know, like you said, you think you finished third or second to Caleb 3 times. Has that ever crossed your mind? How those championships and wins you might have if Caleb would have kind of taken up golf or, I don't know, noodling instead, catfish noodling?
I wish I did.
Not honestly, that never has. There's probably races that have crossed my mind that I probably should have or could have won instead, but never thought about if he wasn't there. That doesn't even make any sense. So no, I haven't. I do wish. I don't know if Caleb ever. I don't know. Did you ever even party when you won, or did you just like? I just wish I could have my 2010 championship back because I feel like I would like burn a building down or something, like something fun. Yeah.
I like the thought of doing that more than the actual planning of doing it, because I can remember even, and it was 2020 because I was like, oh, we should. I just bought the track out at North Carolina. I was like, we should have a big party, and then COVID happened and all that shit. I was like,
yeah.
I can't speak for the championship parties, but let me explain to you what a Caleb Russell race win party is. You drive straight home. Rephrase. Your wife drives you straight home. As soon as you get home, you stop and buy a 12er of lattes, sometimes an 18-pack, depending on how froggy you're feeling. And you turn on Racer TV in the basement, and you rewatch the race that just happened on Racer TV until it just depends on how long it takes you to get home from the race, but 3, 4, 5, 6 in the morning.
those are only the close races.
Wow, the closer ones that you can make it home.
See, Johnny thinks that, you know, he lived with me there for a while in 2020, so he thinks he knows every little detail.
There was a lot of wins in there, and they all ended the same.
Well, they were all within like 3 hours of the house. But anyways, Josh, thanks for coming on. It was great to have you. Get a little insight, hear what you're doing, how things are going. Good luck next year. It should be exciting. We can't wait to see you back in action, hopefully healthy and ready to battle again. It's going to be a good 2023. Yeah. I think there's going to be a lot of great racing action.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, fellas. Hopefully it's let's hope all the boys stay healthy this year. I think, like you said, everyone's kind of stepped up where I feel, well, last year besides BK, I guess, everyone was kind of on a level playing field. So I feel like there was more battle, more racing going on. And it was just unfortunate everyone got injured last year. So, yeah, let's hope this year everyone can stay healthy and we can all race.
Absolutely. We look forward to it. Well, we'll see you at the next, the soon-to-begin Full Gas Sprint Enduro Series here in the end of January. Or was that the beginning of February? There's two. There's the U.S. Sprint.
It was the end of January.
End of January start.
After Sumter.
After Sumter. So the weekend.
Sometime in a couple of weeks.
Sometime in February in a couple of weeks. You'll be
BK's just so you know, BK has a second job. He is our fact checker. And February 11th, he just informed us. He's real handy with that iPhone. But
it is good.
No, thanks for calling in, Josh. We greatly appreciate it. And good luck at round 1, and we'll see you soon, buddy.
All right, boys. See ya.
Later. Man, good conversation.
Yeah, that went well.
That was an hour long. I didn't anticipate that, whole ordeal lasting an entire hour. Yeah, but we had some good topics. Had some good stuff to talk about. Obviously, Josh Strang is a seasoned veteran when it comes to GNCC. He's been here in America since 2006. He came when he was 18 years old. I talked about me moving away from home straight out of high school, being on my own at 18. He moved continents at 18 years old. Yeah, that's a whole nother level of commitment right there. Yeah. Like, it's away from everything and everyone didn't have any family over here, just had made some friends. He mentioned Glenn Kearney had kind of thrown him a lifeline and said, hey, hire this guy, Factory Suzuki at the time. But yeah, what a commitment, man. Like, just to pick up and leave everything you've known and search your dreams. And obviously it's worked out pretty well for him. Yeah. When you can make a living and a career out of doing something you love, I feel like that's a success. Yeah. That's what everybody hopes and dreams to do. And super cool. He alluded to it, but to see him now kind of helping pave the way for other Aussies and, kind of offering them a little bit of mentorship. And, he said he kind of chirped in there when Lyndon Snodgrass was having some troubles in Australia. Said, hey, mate, why don't you come over here? And, if you can race for no money there, you can race for no money here. And there might be more opportunities here. So cool to see him growing into that mentor role. And also really exciting to hear him say, like, you asked, how much longer do you think you're going to do this? He's going to be 35. And he said, well, the plan is 2 to 4 more years. That. Yeah. Like, the way he started that statement off, he said, like, even before I got injured, the plan was kind of, and I was waiting for him to say, like, 2023 would be the last year. And then he comes back and says, like, 2 to 4 more years. That's cool, man. I pumped for him.
I like to hear that. I think it's cool. Like, why why like set an end in sight if you're still enjoying it?
Yeah.
I feel like he's still progressing. You know, he's obviously a solid rider and can still win races. So why not if you're still enjoying it? Like you said, keep at it.
Yeah, I think he's the one guy in the last couple of years that kind of had that recurring theme of like, I just want to have fun. I just want to have fun. I just want to have fun. And, you know, I guess if you want to be like that diehard guy, it's like, oh, you should live it, eat it, breathe it. You got to win. Like, sure. But when Josh says like, I just want to go have fun, I don't think that means by any stretch of the imagination that, hey, I'm not taking this serious. I'm not working. It's more the sense of like, hey, I'm structuring my program and my desires around winning, but at the same time, I'm doing it in a way that I'm enjoying the process.
I think it's enjoying what you do on a daily basis. I think that goes a long ways. You know, these guys thoroughly enjoy, maybe not thoroughly enjoy waking up every day and doing what we do.
Reword that.
It becomes a job.
It does
Of course.
become a job. It has to become a job if you want to see progress and stay competitive at the highest level you can be. And especially the teams these guys are on, they expect a whole lot out of them. And the structure is there now. So,
and for Josh, like he made reference to the fact of like not the same fit for everybody. He talked about Jordan Ashburn and how, you know, the team that Josh is on, the Monster Energy Babbitt Kawasaki
really
team,
enjoys it. He's
there. He's pumped on it. Those are his people. He gels with them. He said Jordan didn't. Jordan goes over to the Magna team, which is, and the one thing I will say that Josh didn't say or allude to, and I've heard from multiple people, and Jordan himself said he felt like the Magna One Motorsports team was the first team that was built around him. Like it basically, he was the focus. The team was built around him. It was about him. He wasn't a secondary rider. He wasn't just one of the riders. It was a team that he felt, whether reality or otherwise, he felt the team was built around him, and you know, it produced results.
yeah, that is something. I don't know that I don't know how to give the words to express how I feel about that, because I never had that outlook on it. And looking back after you saying that right there, I understand like KTM, the team there for a long time was built solely around me. And I don't want to revert this all back on me. This is what Stu does every time somebody asks him a question about somebody else. He just reverts it back to himself. But I never looked at it in that sort of aspect or light. I was just like, well, nobody else is here. I better make sure I win for these guys. I wasn't thinking like, oh, this is all here for me. And, you know, that sense. I was like, I never still felt entitled to the position. Like I never let myself get into the mindset of being like, oh, they're only coming here because I'm the only one here now. If you can understand that.
Yeah. And I want to be very clear. I'm not speaking on behalf of Jordan.
Well, I wasn't putting it in the light as Jordan was being arrogant in the sense like they're here because I'm here.
But if I think if you look at Jordan's history,
I can see how that gives somebody confidence. It's like, all right, we want to build this team singularly around you and what your needs are. But I never looked at it, I never let it persuade me into that sort of mindset. I'm not sure about Ben because Ben is kind of in the same boat here. You know, after I retired, you know, I'm going out and all the focus is going straight on him. And I know in the first episode we touched on this a little bit, but it's like, all right, we got this guy moving out. We want this guy to win. How are we going to get it done?
I feel like maybe what you're saying is you had the mindset that you always had to prove yourself.
Yeah.
Is that the case?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I didn't ever feel like I was entitled to be there. I always felt like because I was a lot of times the only guy, like I had to continuously perform. Like it wasn't because I felt like I had to earn my position every year, no matter what.
And I think that's the way it should be. Like, even when I first got my factory ride, I didn't see that as like, oh, I made it. I saw that as like, oh man, this is like the start. Now I need to.
This is the opportunity I need to capitalize on.
But it's like that always. Like you always show up expecting someone to be better or to have progressed, and you just need to always show up like on your A game and like you have to perform to the best. I feel like that's the way it needs to be.
Well, and shifting to lazy days over here. I do. I think we have enough time left. I'd still like to cover a little bit of the National Enduro prep, hype, whatever you want to call it, Sprint Enduro, US Sprint Enduro, and Full Gas. If we can touch on who's where. But, in this conversation we're having right now about teams being built around people or marquee riders on teams, like, let's talk about you a little bit. Like a couple years ago, Coastal Racing Husky, obviously the factory Rockstar Husky team completely dismantled with injuries, have no riders. And without going into details, I think it's kind of a known thing. Like those teams have contracts that are dependent upon fielding riders on the racetrack. If they can't do that, they're essentially, they're not fulfilling their contracts with associate and title sponsors and all that. So being that the organizations all work together, factory Rockstar Husky reaches out and says, hey, Coastal, you're one of our support teams. We need one of your riders. Like we need, and at the time, Ricky Russell doing very well, gets injured. He's not, and it all kind of all happened around the same time, but you were an XC2 guy and suddenly you go from an XC2 guy battling for a championship, battling for wins on a factory supported team to the only rider out of a Rockstar factory Husqvarna semi. Like talking about building a team around somebody, man, that's a big shift. How'd that go over and how'd that feel?
It was, at first it was nerve wracking, but like what Caleb said, like you put it into perspective. It's like you got that pressure, like you got not pressure, but motivation to perform because they're driving a semi across the country for you. So it's it was good. I think that helped me that year, or any year in that case, just because I was the only guy, all the attention was on me, and I enjoyed it. It was good.
There's no way to know how this would have played out in a vacuum had that not have happened. But if you look at your career trajectory since then to now, it's been such a fast growth, such a fast evolution of, going from a guy battling for, XC2 wins to winning an XC2 championship with that team, coming back next year, battling for another XC2 championship. We already talked about, obviously, a phenomenal rookie season. Not, I guess, to compare your previous team to the team you're on now, but do you feel like any part of that added pressure, added investment in you kind of made you step up your game even more?
Oh, for sure. It was, nothing against the Coastal team, but it wasn't to what it is now. And like that next step, it made me realize that, like, this is my time. Like, I got to make it happen.
Caleb, this is the time for your catchphrase. Sink or swim.
Exactly.
And you swam.
Well, and like the way I think the only reason I got it, because I wasn't supposed to, I don't think I was supposed to, it was like 1 year, like till they come back, and then, I was back to Coastal, but I was winning and like kind of in the points battle, so they just had to make a spot for me, I think. And that's kind of where I've been. So,
made the most of it, and it turned into an additional opportunity.
Just a replacement guy.
Yeah. Lazy days.
Lazy days. Craig hasn't seen too many lazy days recently.
Not the last 2 weeks.
It's been since probably, I don't know, what was it? Into August?
Yeah, pretty much.
No, I think it's good, especially, obviously, all the guys that we've had in studio right now, I've currently been working with, which is a little unfair to everybody else, so to speak, but, we are utilizing the resources at our fingertips.
Yeah, man, convenience. Like,
it is convenience for sure.
And to be fair, like,
still, they're all riders in the realm.
right. Hey, we're like we're not the factory podcast here. We don't have the resources to be, PJs and flying people across the country. Like,
yeah, we can't
we go out to the
fly
campground out back here and we're like knocking on doors, like, and I am doing that so you guys can hear it. Like, yo, Craig, what are you doing? He's like, buddy, I'm in the shower. We're like, hey man, we're doing a podcast and we're gonna talk national enduro and sprint enduro and some stuff about dirt bikes. So come on in. And Craig's like, do I have to?
And I think everybody listening and wants to hear from the top riders,
sure,
the factory riders, and Ben was really good on the first show, and we got a new mic set up. So
Yeah, we got a new mic set up so we can go 4 now. And I mean, I feel
right
like
here.
at this point, Ben's on the payroll. He's our fact checker.
yeah, he's
Like,
gonna have to be.
I think what we're going to do from now on, if Ben doesn't want to be in front of a mic at any point and he's here.
good to come in here and give us points of
he's just going to
interest,
sit here. And as we
facts.
start talking,
He's in the know of everything.
He's gonna be-
He's a social butterfly.
he's going to be our. We talked about this.
This is my media training. And I say this all the time, like living in New England, I'm like so out of, I don't know. I feel like most people live in like North Carolina or this Morgantown, PA, Waynesburg area of Ohio, West Virginia, PA. And when I show up to the races, it's like kind of strictly business. You know, you're so busy. Look, you show up, you look at the track, you eat, you make sure you're signed up, ready to go, gear's ready. You go to sleep, you wake up,
You go back to your camper. Wait, no, Ben sold his.
I leave. I just get in the car. And
Ben
I leave.
is the only top XC1, XC2 rider that I'm aware of on the bike side that goes to hotels now.
I did a couple times.
This year?
No, it's the new fad.
It's shifting back.
ditching the camper, the motorhome life.
Okay. All right.
It goes in waves. I
Gas
feel like
prices,
of
bro.
everything.
Yeah. I mean, I was a hotel guy for years, and I get where BK's at.
It really is going in waves. Like there's a bunch of guys now that are, Ben, Craig,
I did like 3/4 of the races last year.
Lane Michael,
maybe.
myself. I've been borrowing stuff.
Well, that's a whole nother discussion. You own a very nice camper that just is missing half of the camper, and
It's back. It's back in action. Actually,
it is. Is it coming back to the races?
we've got. It took a year to get some new screws and some glue.
It took a year to get some new screws and some Bondo and some epoxy to hold the camper onto the chassis.
We're not gonna talk.
All
about
he
that
needed
a
was
whole
Flex tape, Flex Seal,
Yeah,
all the Flex
exactly.
products,
Dialed.
and you would have been back in
Oh,
business.
dude,
in
if you want a
week.
camper, you have to have Flex Seal. I don't care if it's brand new and how much it costs. Like, it's going to leak.
Guess I need to go to the store.
Yeah, Craig's is brand new. I pulled in first thing I saw. I'm like, dang, Craig, you got camper like Taj Mahal of campers. And he's like, yeah, man, I'm gonna be down here a while, like trying.
Katie wanted me to get a nicer bed.
Low key flexing, and I was like, you got a dog in there? He's like, nah, I tried to bring Andrew's dog, but
You pay for a better quality of life. It's worth it.
It's
in the
nice.
end.
And to be fair, Ben, like your camper was nice. It was just small, and you're a pretty big guy. And
No,
like,
I just was over it. Like
you
I
said,
felt
you
like-
hated
want
doing
the
dishes.
hassle.
No, it's
and
just-
cleaning.
it is a lot of work.
Yeah.
Like when you drive a long way, it's
Ben's
a lot
a
of
van
work.
lifer. I can totally see Ben.
I
Like,
can be a minimalist. Like, I don't need much, dude.
Ben is definitely the gypsy soul minimalist.
I have to have a lot of things with what we do, of course, but
Yeah.
for the most part.
He has a lot of tools.
he's gonna
in
throw
the
it back to
shed.
the Shane Watts days. Do you remember that?
He's a free rider.
Shane sleeping.
I don't know if he's that.
I'm not that hard.
Do you know about that?
Like sleeping under his van?
No,
just
it wasn't a
because?
van, bro. It was a camper, and he would sleep under it. I don't know if he actually
it was a box
did.
van. It was a
No,
box.
there was a point. I know this for a fact when he was doing the whole like I'm gonna race every bike that KTM has and win on them all.
Well, back in the day too, you got to remember like those guys when they came over here, they would race GNCC, National Hare Scrambles
Yep.
were big. They would race some national enduros.
Sure.
They were racing every
OMAs
weekend.
were a thing back then.
They
Somewhat.
would literally race
Yep.
every race for they would race 30 some weekends out of the year.
Yeah.
That's how you could afford to make a living racing a motorcycle and off road was by just traveling to all these races. So
I agree. I just, if we're talking specifically about Shane Watts, I don't know what that has to do with having a camper. This is like when his wife was here. He had a camper and he slept under it. I swear, dude.
no, this was before.
I'm not making this up. I was there.
This was early 2000s.
You were 10.
Just to
12.
prove people wrong that he's just a badass.
I do think it was like a mental thing. There was a lot of rumors that he would sleep in the camper and get up at like 5:45 or 6 in the morning, throw a sleeping bag underneath the camper, crawl down there, so that when the guys pulled into the pro pits, they would see him.
It was definitely before the wife because I could always remember. I remember stories as I was growing older of like the stories of Shane Watts' new chick in the back of the box van or underneath the box van. So it wasn't
underneath. That's that's next level.
The look on Craig's face right now. Craig's like, man, I needed to race in the 2000s, like 90s. I actually found an old poster.
Terra Firma days.
Yeah, I actually found an old GNCC poster when I was cleaning up before I headed south to, and it was Shane Watts was the champion that year. I think it was 98 or 99.
And not in GNCC, he wasn't.
It must have been 2000 then. I can't remember exactly what year it was, but there was a poster, and it was the Shane Watts picture with the number 1 on the bike, and he was the champion. Bill or Barry was the champion on ATVs. I don't know. I have a snap of it, but it was funny because it just brought back all those memories of like, dude, so much controversy that guy caused. Like, he loved to stir things up.
Oh, he loved it. I was a huge Shane Watts fan.
Everyone was
for the longest time,
unless you raced against him.
Yeah, he's I mean, the only way to describe it, and now you see why Stu Baylor is so polarizing. People love that
Controversy. Yep. People love controversy.
Yeah.
Same with like reality TV and just
drama. Yeah, that's exactly the same in retrospect. That's how Shane Watts was to Stu Baylor now, in the exact same ballpark. Like, as far as the controversy, the stigma, everything that goes along with that, Stu Baylor is the modern day Shane Watts. Only he's not sleeping underneath his camper.
And he's not Australian.
He's not Australian, though.
Yeah. They're pretty different builds physically
Yeah.
as well.
Yep.
I never saw Shane Watts drink a beer. I don't know if he drank or not. I was pretty young, but Stu's obviously, is he a Busch Light guy?
I don't know. Yeah.
probably anything cold.
Yeah,
It's
I think he
whatever
drinks
the
it all.
fans want him to drink is what he's going to drink.
Fair
so
enough.
that's
He's racing the National Enduro.
yeah, I'm sure he is.
It's
It's called the backup plan.
What do you mean?
I
I must have missed that one.
Craig lost us.
Maybe
Caleb
I'll just edit that part out.
If you can't win the GNCCs, you hope to win the National Enduros.
Exactly.
Oh, all right.
I got you. I got you.
Yeah, we'll edit that part out.
We might just keep the whole scenario in there.
And make it better.
Anyways, we've had a great show tonight. We had Josh Strang on, Craig DeLong, Ben Kelley, Johnny Gallagher, and myself in studio. We're an hour and 56 minutes into this thing.
We're going to let you guys go early tonight.
We are going to get off here, come back to you. We're going to have a GNCC preseason show. I'm going to edit that too.
Okay.
We are going to have a GNCC preseason show.
Edit that again because I want to say one more thing. Okay. Cut. And we're coming back. Hey, Caleb, I actually just got a text from Josh Strang. Pretty interesting. I texted him as we were finished up and kind of moving on. I said, hey, man, thanks for calling in. You killed it. And he said, thanks, man. That was a lot of fun. And he said, honestly, crazy all the races you forget about until someone else brings them up. It's pretty cool, like, you know, for a guy like that's been at it so long, battled against essentially 2 generations of GNCC champions and also has memories with Lazy Days over here. You know, it's wild that a little podcast like this can kind of start jogging his memory and bring back some nostalgia.
I think that is bringing up Strang again. How he asked you about you celebrating your championships. He's like, man, I wish I burnt the building down, but I can relate to that a little. And like maybe now looking back at your career, you're like, oh man, because you win these races or championships, and then you're always just focused right on the next thing. It's hard to actually like sit there and look back at what you just did and try to like actually enjoy it. And that's definitely something I feel like maybe everyone struggles with that. How do you do that? How do you enjoy what you just did, but also stay focused enough to try to keep that course going?
Ben, I think this is going to be for another podcast because that is
The deep one?
that's going to be deep. Like to dive into the
You know who we need to have on for that show?
who's that?
Jason Wygant.
Yeah, I think that would be very good.
He
I think
he
he'd
wrote
be
a great article once that said,
You know, I-
literally that. It said the irony of the fact that these guys have the dream job, and you know everyone looks at them like this is the dream. You're winning. You have this job. This championship is that no one can enjoy it in the moment. You can't enjoy it until after it's gone. You look back on it and you realize, man, I should have enjoyed it more. But the reality of it is the few guys that enjoy it while they're doing it, it doesn't last as long and they're not as successful for the most part.
I think too, like the sport, it's such a revolving door. The year goes by so fast. you win these races or this championship, and you're solely focused on this for so long that you don't know how to appreciate it because you've worked really hard, but you don't understand how to appreciate it. You're just relieved it's done and over with, and you got the job done. So it's like you actually enjoyed the process of doing it and getting to that point more than you actually liked winning. And that's what it was for me over all the years is, you know, and that's why I can remember being young and dumb and being like, oh, I'm never going to have a road bike ever again. And look at me now. I'm out here pounding sand roads with you guys freaking beating my head on the ground.
Cheating.
Because
Getting
I
frustrated
realized
occasionally.
Oh yeah, I for sure. But
MF&S.
I've come to realize, like, over time, like, I enjoyed the process more than I like the end result. And it comes with time and age. And I was never one to, like, overly celebrate because it was just a relief that it was done. But as soon as it was a relief, it was like I would hang that banner up over there in the garage, and I'd be like, I would look at it and I'd be like, man, how many more can I hang? What do I got to do now? So it wasn't like, oh, let's celebrate. And I mean, you celebrate when you're done, and I still didn't do that because I'm still not done.
I ate a cupcake the night I retired. It had my face on it.
Yeah,
that was it.
I don't know. It is very strange. I will agree. I was never one into celebrating, but it was. I think too. It's you know, I was growing up, you know, with my dad, my grandpa, watching football games and stuff, and we weren't super excited people, and our favorite teams won and stuff. So like you see that, and you don't relate to being ecstatic at certain moments. So
Yeah, I can agree. I feel like I'm the same way. I don't know about Craig, but
Yeah, sometimes.
I mean, there's certain times when I was way more excited than others, and I showed, but it wasn't over the top. So, and for the most part, I was pretty level-headed, and I think all of us here at the table were, you know, kind of in that same category as, you know, we are excited. We don't necessarily know how to show it, but the ones around us are excited for us, and that's all we needed. We don't need the validation of, you know, we don't need to make a mockery of ourselves and earn the validation of over celebrating to earn the validation of others for our core group.
I can only speak for once, and for me, like the kind of over the top people like screaming when I won that race in 2017. Like, I don't want to use the word embarrassed, but I was like, I just kind of felt like
you kind of get that sort of sensation. It's almost like embarrassed. Like, what do I do? Like, I don't want to be. I want to.
Well, no, it was just like for me, it was just like, wow, this is awesome. Like, it's been such a long road. Like, but it wasn't real yet in the moment. But the reality of it was like people were like going crazy, and I felt like a lot of people were kind of like disappointed because I didn't like freak out and celebrate. But to me, like, my celebration was, I just remember saying on the podium, like, my dad said to me years ago, don't you ever want to be the baddest guy on the track for just one day? Today I did it, Dad. Like, that was my celebration. Like, yeah, I didn't need to scream and not judging anybody else that does that, but there was no revies, there was no screaming. It was just like, cool, man, this is awesome. So everybody's different.
Yeah. No, to each their own. Everybody is going to be different.
Who's going to burn the building down? Apparently Strang. So basically what I take from that, we're going to close this out, is
There's
Josh Strang wins the 2023 championship or any going forward. Wherever it happens, if it's at Ironman, Tom's Marine, look out. Josh Strang is coming to burn the building down.
I'm going to be there.
Yeah, I'll be there. I'll have some, what do they call them? Put another shrimp on the bobby.
If I had a camper, I'd let him burn that to the ground.
We'll get you a camper. We'll go on Craigslist.
Yeah. Anyways, great show tonight. Thanks for everybody for tuning in. We will talk to you soon. We'll be back with another episode of The Inside Line.
Thanks for listening to the Inside Line podcast. Made possible by the folks at Kelley Resources, a real estate and property development that's WFO. Because we all have to work hard to play hard. Check out their available assets and website at kelleyresources.com.